Good evening and welcome to this week in review. Tonight's stories include work begins on the community centre, interview with Kathy Cutler, the council report, the grade 1 class buildings, these stories plus community events, the BBS playbill, off the rack and more coming up after this.
Communication is the beginning of understanding, and understanding is the basis for problem solving. USC Canada believes communication should know no borders. A farmer's field in Ethiopia offers innovation for old problems in Nepal. A community seed bank in Bangladesh sparks ideas for one in Mali. All over the developing world, Canadians in global partnership, finding solutions that work.
On Monday of this week, work began on the Lions Community Centre. 4 workers have been hired for 8 weeks to carry out some repairs to the community centre. Under the direction of foreperson Max Compton, the 3 other workers have to put 120 bundles of shingles on the roof. 2 weeks have been allotted for this part of the project. 2 of the 3 windows in this side of the centre will be replaced. The other will be removed. The main door will be replaced by a bigger one that is wheelchair accessible. The 2 existing air conditioning units will be removed and 2 windows will be put back in these spots. On the inside, this wall will be painted. The panel board on the other walls will be removed and replaced with gyprock, and panel board will be put 4 foot up the wall. These 2 smoke vents will also be removed. The plans call for some work to be done on the washrooms as well. No work is scheduled for the kitchen, the bar area, or the boardroom. On Wednesday of this week, the Burgeo Volunteer Fire Department were doing practice work with fire extinguishers. Now that spring has arrived, the Burgeo Fire Department will be able to get outside to do some training. Fire Chief Glenn told us it is not often they get to practice firefighting skills with fire extinguishers. This past week was Occupational Health and Safety Week, and the fire department helped some of the staff at the Calder Health Care Center learn how to use fire extinguishers. Later that evening, the fire department went to the community center parking lot once again to do some practicing of their own. Fireman Dave Billard briefly explained the differences in the types of fire extinguishers they had. He also reminded them of proper procedure when approaching a fire and the proper sweeping motion. Each of the firefighters took a turn putting out the fire with the different fire extinguishers. Then they talked about how the fire reacted to each of the chemicals and the water extinguisher. Fire Chief Glenn had a great tip for homeowners that use fire extinguishers in their homes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, people that got fire extinguishers home in their houses, you should always check your gauge. Make sure that the gauge is up in the center part there, showing 195, not to not recharge or overcharge. Probably even every month you take it out of the rack. You just take it and give it a shake. You loosen up the chemical that's into it, because if you get a fat fire or some kind of fire sometime, the chemical in there will get hard, and when you pull your pin out to fight the fire, the chemical that's inside is hard and it won't release. So every month or so, just take it and give it a shake. Same thing as when you check your smoke detectors, you could make it a point of checking your fire extinguisher. Thank you.
The firemen continued with this exercise until all the extinguishers were emptied.
All the hair is probably got out of it. Corey, you had to try? Lynn, so give him the Corey, right? Who else ain't had to try, right?
That's 20 rods on them, combine them over.
Is that a good one you got there too?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, just let her cool down a little, put a bit more fuel in, ready? Be careful now, what's there? Who ain't had to try? For the way, everybody? Somebody take that one right there in front of the guy.
This one empty, that one? This one empty?
Okay, give it a try.
On Thursday of this week, we spoke to Kathy Cutler about the Community Trauma Response Team. We have with us in our studio today Kathy Cutler. Kathy is the mental health addictions counselor at the Calder Healthcare Centre, and today we'll be talking about Mental Health Week coming up, among other things. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you.
So we'll begin by talking about Mental Health Week, which is coming up next week, May the 6th to the 12th, I believe.
Yep.
Usually there's a theme around mental health, so the theme this year is what?
The theme this year is respect, don't reject. If you have a brain, you can have a mental illness.
Okay.
That says it all right there, right?
Okay, you want to say that again for me?
Respect, don't reject. If you have a brain, you can have a mental illness.
Okay.
So basically, you know, anybody can have a mental illness, right? It's
Yeah.
not just certain people, or
Yeah,
you know. So during the week, we're going to be doing a few activities and kind of try to raise awareness around some of those issues, right?
Okay. Now, I understand some of the, because we talked previous,
Yep.
and I know one of them activities you'll be doing is not really an activity, I suppose, but you'll be airing some videos around mental illness on our community channel.
Yes.
So people may want to take note of that.
Yeah.
What's some other things that you got planned?
Okay, besides the videos, there will be a display at the hospital, and I guess we tried to distinguish between mental health and mental illness, even though the theme is mentions mental illness.
Yes.
But this is Mental Health Week, so there will be display, and we hope that they will kind of enlighten people around what the difference between mental health and mental illness is,
Okay.
because there is a big difference, right?
Okay.
And we will be putting on an ad on the channel around the theme and around what the difference is. We also, at the quiz at the site of at the display at the hospital, we're going to have a quiz there, a mental health
Okay.
quiz, and a box to put it in, and we'll be drawing for a prize around that. It'll be a nice prize. So we encourage people to fill that out and test their knowledge around mental health. You mentioned the videos. I'm hoping to. I have a couple videos. One on stress and stress management, basically. The Joy of Stress is called. It's a really funny videos. It takes a really humorous look at how people manage their stress, and how sometimes we kind of let things we blow things out of proportion a lot of times, right? And there's another one on certain different mental illnesses like depression. I have several on different eating disorders, bulimia, anorexia nervosa, schizophrenia. So, a variety of topics, a variety of different mental illnesses as well. So there, like I said again before, there is a difference between mental health and mental illness, but it is certainly tied to it. We had to mention one without the other. So hopefully those videos will help kind of elaborate a little bit on that. And I'm going to have a suggestion box here too at the desk, because I really like to have some suggestions. I've been doing things for Mental Health Week, and I guess as a counselor there, I would like to get some ideas around what the community would like to see in regard to that. I mean, what do they see as the need in our community, and what ways to, that I could be useful or I could help in, with that need kind of thing. If I can, I don't know if I can or not, but certainly, if they have any suggestions about activities or things that they would like to see in the community, stick that in the box and let me know. I really want to find out, which ways would be the best way to address issues in the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got my interest peaked now. You said there's a difference between mental illnesses and mental health.
Yeah.
Now, briefly, can you tell me the difference?
Yep, sure. Mental illness, is it can be a medically diagnosed illness like any other illness. So, for example, you would go to a doctor for a broken arm or for diabetes. The same thing would be for a mental illness. A lot of people will go and be diagnosed with different mental illnesses. For example, there's a range of mental illnesses, different categories, and they use the DSM-4, which is a diagnostic tool, to basically diagnose different mental illnesses. So mental illnesses would include depression, anxiety disorders like panic attacks, those kind of things. Schizophrenia, like I said before, bipolar disorder, manic depressive, same thing.
Yes.
Any eating disorders, they're all considered mental illnesses as such, right? Obsessive compulsive disorders. So
And mental health would be caring for...
Well, mental health was, so those are the illnesses. So I mean, like I said, anybody who has a brain can have mental illness, and it's really true. I mean, you know, people, 1% of the population, you know, has schizophrenia. So that means, you know, you or I or anybody we know, we could have schizophrenia. It's not because of a weakness or anything like that. People, I mean, anybody can be a victim of an illness. I mean, we don't, you know, a lot of times, right, we don't have much control over what things, you know, that kind of thing that will happen to us. So although there are certain, you know, predictors, I guess, in some instances, right? Well, mental health is basically anything that you do to keep a balance in your life. So, you know, if you have a healthy mental health, you know, you try to strike a balance between your work commitments, your leisure time, you make time to have friends, to have good relationships, to volunteer, whatever makes you feel good kind of thing, right? About, and I'm not saying you're going to be happy all the time, nobody's happy all the time, but, you know, whatever keeps that balance, right?
Yeah, so basically it's mental health is looking after yourself in a mental capacity so that you wouldn't be probably subject to a mental disease.
The more, exactly, and I think you're absolutely right that it's coping, it's how you cope with the things, because everybody has problems in their life, everybody has ups and downs, and everybody's not happy all the time. So it's basically what you do in your life that helps you cope through the rough times, because we all got rough patches, and we all have times when we don't feel very good, and that's normal. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, we're going to have, but it's how you cope with those times, what you do, and there are very healthy coping mechanisms, and then there's not so healthy, right? So, you know, you're distinguishing between what is healthy and what is not healthy, and what you do kind of thing to kind of keep that, get back in balance, because, you know, we all get thrown off balance. We all have, you know, bad things that will happen in our lives that kind of throws us off for a while, but how do you, what do you do in your life that, you know, helps you kind of get back on track and get back that balance, right? So that's what mental health is, and we look at that as, you know, like, you know, exercising, eating right, you know, having good relationships, you know, volunteering, whatever, you know, those types of things, right? And there's a whole realm of things.
Impact.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else on the mental health week?
There is a, well, it just happened to fall during Mental Health Week. There is a bully protest that's going to be going on May 14th at the school, between grade K to 6. So we're really excited about that. Peer helpers are going to be helping the primary and elementary kids do some activities around bullying. So that should be very interesting. So that kind of ties right into the whole, all these issues are related, right? So I thought I would mention that as well on May the 14th. But that's basically it around the display and the quiz. And like I say, anybody's welcome to fill out that quiz, and certainly the suggestion box, because I welcome any, you know, suggestions that people have in the community. I mean, that's, you know, the community needs to tell me what, you know, which ways or which areas they would like to focus on, and see what we can, you know, do about that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's always good to have suggestions.
Yes.
Anyway. And sometimes maybe you can do something about them, and sometimes you can't. But if not, well, if you can't do something about it, maybe you can get somebody
else. That's right, exactly,
okay. Right? Now, the other issue that we were going to discuss this morning is a relatively new issue. Actually, it's a new group or new organization, whatever form you want to call it, but it's called the Community Trauma Response Team.
Yes.
And you guys have been working on, I'll say you guys because I know you're involved with it, and other individuals in the community have been working on it for quite some time.
Yes.
So do you want to give us a brief overview of how that came to be, the community trauma? Okay.
About a year and a half, well, I guess a little over a year and a half ago, I attended a training in Corner Brook, and it was a 5-day training that involved people from different communities. I was the only one from this community, unfortunately, but we went to Corner Brook and we attended a community trauma training, basically. And it was identified through some research and surveys and different reports that a lot of times when we respond to trauma or traumatic events, we're not very coordinated in our efforts, and sometimes people will fall through the gap. So they had identified this in our organization, Health and Community Services, identified this through different means, and saw it as an issue that they wanted to work on. So they brought in a trainer to train key people in different areas. So like there are a number of people trained in Stephenville, Corner Brook, up the Northern Peninsula, several in Port Bass. I know, like I said, I'm the only one here in Burgeo, but so basically we were tasked with the job of coming back to our community and trying to organize a team that will look at psychosocial effects of trauma in people and to deal with them in a coordinated way. And that's basically it. So we're looking at people When I came back, I contacted people who would be directly involved in a traumatic event. So, you know, your first responder a lot of times would be the police or the hospital. So we contacted a representative from each of those groups. Now the team wouldn't necessarily be, obviously would not be responding, there wouldn't be first responders, but we would respond within a very brief period of time, within a 24-hour period, to any survivors of a traumatic event or somebody who's witnessed a traumatic event. And if they wanted to avail of services, we would put things in place around that, right? So that would involve people at the school, in the community, parents, any groups that saw that they needed any service. Now this is a new thing because a lot of times we do that. Like as a counselor, I would see people, or as you know, the child protection social worker or the youth correction. I mean, they would see people who were you know, had experienced trauma, but it wasn't in a coordinated fashion. So we were all off on our own doing our little thing. Yes, okay. The clergy would see people. You know, I mean, yes, you know, around grief and bereavement and those types of things, and you know, so everybody would be doing it. But so basically, what we're trying to do now is to do it in a coordinated fashion. We would get together, do an assessment of the situation. Who is most at risk for serious effects down the road? Because with a traumatic event, it's a different, and we all have losses and grief, and we all experience those things. But with a traumatic event, it's very different in that, well, basically our definition, I guess I should say, our definition of a traumatic event is one where you experience like a, you know, that you have actual or perceived threat to your life, so you feel that you're in danger. Okay. The person can feel that. You know, you're at risk for severe physical harm or injury. You could have witnessed a death or a serious injury. So if somebody was in a car accident and you know, one of their friends died next to them, that would be a very traumatic event, yes, for that person who survived, certainly, right? Yeah. Or accidentally causing harm to another. So if you know, accidentally did something, hurt somebody. So the people that would be witness that or would be victims of that, we would, you know, that would be considered a very traumatic event. Okay. But not only the people that are involved in the actual event, but then you have spin-offs because they're all
your family, your friends,
school, exactly. Yeah. Any groups, okay, that are involved.
Yes, certainly.
You know, school teams. I mean, yes, there could be. So basically, what the team would do was get together and identify all those people, because some of the more obvious ones are the ones directly involved. For example, in a suicide, you know, obviously the family members would be very traumatically affected by somebody's suicide. Yes. The one that walked in on it would be even more so. Yes. Or found the body. So now, but then again, everybody in the class, if that was a teenager, exactly, everybody in the class would be traumatically, exactly, affected. Yeah. The parents of those kids would be traumatically affected because they'd be worried about their children, yeah, doing the same thing. Exactly. I mean, so what the team would do was kind of get together and assess all that and see what could be put in place to deal with that, because everybody in a community, especially in a community as small as this, will be affected in some way. Yes, so we would, you know, assess that situation and offer services in a very coordinated fashion, so that's, you know, dealt with. And we can identify people who are at risk for an illness called post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a mental illness that occurs when people, sometimes occurs when people witness or a traumatic event, yeah, exactly, right? So basically one of our goals is to assess for that and try to kind of nip that in the bud, so you know that doesn't happen, because post-traumatic stress disorder is a very debilitating illness for people who have experienced it, right? So, or, you know, have experienced a traumatic event. So that's one of our goals, is to do that.
Okay, so now you've been on the working on this for what?
About a year and a half, yeah.
Okay.
We were trying to devise protocols, so we need to put our protocols in place.
So obviously you've done quite a bit of extensive work. Now, do you want to name some names or some groups in the community that are involved?
Okay, so we got together with our team. So we looked at anybody who would normally be dealing with people. Yes. You know, so basically your first responders, so the police would be involved. And we also have the guidance counselor at the school. Yep. We have a administrator from the school, because obviously that's very important to filter if anybody's school children, any school-age children, filter that back through the school system. The clergy, public health nurse, the community services social workers, myself, mental health addictions counselor, the hospital representative, because people, a lot of times hospitals involved in traumatic event, and we also have the funeral director. Now, a lot of these people are on our team in different capacities as well, because, for example, our administrator for school is also on town council, so we, get them to bring back information.
Okay.
And RCMP is with the Lions. So we try to kind of raise awareness about the team by that having people having in different capacities, on our team, so they can bring back the information about it. But we saw it as very important to get out to the community what the team does and what the team doesn't do.
Okay.
And basically, it's a first response. It's not a counseling process. We would make referrals if people needed counseling, but basically, it's a first response. And these people on the team got together and devised, went over different protocols from other teams in other parts of the country, and we picked out what we thought would best fit our needs here.
Yeah.
Just recently, we had a mock scenario where we went through an assessment process, and so where we kind of finalized our protocols now, and we've developed a pamphlet, and we have our pamphlet done up here, and we're going to be putting that in town, so people are know what it is and what it isn't.
Okay.
We don't want to. We want get the facts out about what it is what we would be doing, and with no no weird ideas I guess about that. Yeah. So, but if anybody would like more information about the team and what it is we do, they can certainly call myself or I think Trudy McDonald's name is on the pamphlet here, right? And Trudy's part of the team as well. So that's the team members. Now the actual people that will be responding to psychosocial trauma would be myself, the people that would normally clergy.
Oh, naturally.
Right?
But in other words, that you would normally do it, but now as a team you will be doing it
in a coordinated fashion.
Yeah, together as a team, not the clergy in one corner, you in another corner type of thing.
Yeah, and somebody gets risk of being left out, right?
Okay.
And this is all voluntary. Obviously, if people don't feel they need services, they don't need it. Right? I mean, we're just going to offer. A lot of times when people go through a traumatic event, they, there are a lot of things happening to them that they're not familiar with. They may feel, and they don't feel like asking for help because they feel like sometimes they're going crazy and they don't really know. So we're there a lot of times to provide information about what normal responses are, and to a traumatic event. What's a normal range, I guess, of responses for that, right?
Certainly.
So that's part of the role. So there's a number of different roles that we would play in a traumatic event. But again, the people that would be involved, we would offer services, but it's quite voluntary, and nobody, would be expected would have to do that, right? I mean, that's a voluntary
it's all
thing.
voluntary,
Yes.
Okay. So did you cover everything?
I think that was pretty well. Like I say, we do have a pamphlet done out. So if anybody wanted, a bit more information about that, or they can certainly pick that up. We will have them around the hospital, and we're going to be sending them out to first responders like ambulance drivers, the Lions Club, the Ground Search and Rescue, people that would be involved, or maybe
first on the scene, almost.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the people first on the scene, and they can give out this, a pamphlet
You
about.
may need this.
Right.
This is for your information.
Exactly,
Okay.
down the road, right? So
Yeah.
we have a couple here. We have one about our team, but I just recently have one from a Have You Experienced a Traumatic Event that will be given out,
Okay.
at the scene, and we would hope that, first responders would do that, right?
Yeah, okay.
So, basically it's just getting the word out now that the team does exist, and if there is a need, if in the case of a traumatic event, that we would get together and do an assessment team. We may or may not meet, right? I mean, we have our definition of a traumatic event, and what would happen in the community would have to fall within that, in order. But we would always meet to assess that first.
Certainly, to
as a group,
decide
right?
whether you would, as a team, become involved.
Exactly.
You may, as an addiction and mental health counselor, be involved, but as that role, not as a trauma response team.
Exactly,
okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I think that's about it, right? I mean, and I guess the definition that we use for traumatic event when we think of it for our purposes, our protocol was that we would get together anytime there was traumatic death caused from a suicide, a homicide, or accidents, all deaths of school-age children, and traumatic events in all age groups, which include serious accidents, natural disasters, and some deaths from illness. For example, like I think of like meningitis, that would be a big scare for people, right? So some incidents like that from illness, right? So those would be the times that we would meet.
You would, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Well, which is good to know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very positive thing, do you think?
Oh, very, yeah. It's very, like I said, I mean, already we can, people are feeling, I guess, having more control over it, feeling more, it's more coordinated, and feeling that you're doing more. You know that you're not going to miss anybody. You feel very good about that. You wouldn't miss people. Sometimes people have fallen through the cracks, and we weren't able to service them, and nobody really knew who was supposed to do what or take that part up.
Okay.
And but now I think we would feel in the assessment process, going through the assessment, that that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And you have a full range of people around the table, so everybody knows a little bit about, you know,
Yeah.
different parts. That,
Certainly.
you know, maybe something I wouldn't think about, somebody else on the team would know, you know. So that makes a big difference. And so having a group there makes a major, is a real improvement in the range that you would cover, instead of just having one person.
I think as members of the community, it probably would be a comfort to know that those people are there in the event that something really
Yeah.
tragic could happen, that you know that those people are there and
Yes.
you will be able to depend on them for whatever your needs are at the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you wanted it, right?
If
like I
you
say.
wanted it,
Yes.
that's right. If you wanted it, if you didn't, well, that's fine as well.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we certainly thank you for coming in, Kathy.
Okay,
and,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we'll look forward to all the activities
Yes.
next week for mental health.
Okay, thanks.
On Thursday of this week, we visited the Grade 1 classroom to take a look at their community buildings. This was a part of the Grade 1 science program. In this unit, they learn about structure, foundation, and exploring, just to name a few. In social studies, they learned about our community and the services they offer. Most of the students did a variety of buildings using buildings around our community as their model. Most of the buildings were made out of cardboard and bristlewood. But we'll let the Grade 1 students tell you about their own buildings.
Cameron, David, Ambrose, Courtney.
Wow, that's a big name.
Yeah.
And what grade are you in?
1.
Yeah, so what do you have there today?
Hockey Stadium.
A hockey stadium. Okay, and who helped you make it?
Mom. Because my dad's in St. John's in Abigail. He's only a tiny little baby.
Oh, okay, so Mom helped you.
Yeah.
All right, so what did you make your building out of?
Just a few boxes. And I'm not sure what that is. So.
Okay. Now, I think that, does the top come off of it? So that we could have a look inside? Wow. So this is what you hope that the new stadium will look like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like they all got Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can buy those at Foodland.
Can you? Okay, thank you very much.
My name is Curtis James Douglas Hand. And I am at Grade 1.
What's the building you got there today, Curtis?
My house.
That's your house that would you live in with your mom and dad?
Huh?
That's the house you live in with your mom and dad?
Yes.
Okay. Who helped you make it?
My Uncle Tony.
Okay, and what's it made out of?
A box, bristle board, tape, and glue.
Oh, very good. Thank you very much.
This is my house. Me and Uncle Tony built it. We used a box, bristle board, tape, and glue. I cut all the board and cut out pieces for the doors and windows. We had fun making my house. It is cool.
Thank you very much.
My name is Danny Flynn. I made my cabin with box and paper and box. Then we made the windows, but then we put the roof on.
Oh, good. So who helped you make your cabin, Sammy?
Mom and Dad.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jonah Philip George Scare, and I made Mary Mays.
Wow. So who helped you make it?
My dad and my brother.
And what's it made out of?
Wood and plastic stuff on the bottles and paper.
Very good. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh,
My name is Emily Frankie, and I made Scott's Garage.
oh, very good. So who helped you make it?
My dad.
Yeah, and what's it made out of?
Wood and my pinkies and toilet paper rolls.
Good job. Thank you.
My name is Joshua Green. I made a bridge.
And who helped you make it, Joshua?
Did.
Yeah, what did you make it out of?
Plywood.
Did you paint it as well?
Yeah, I painted some of the things though.
Okay.
The roof can't come off though. This is the Roman Catholic Church. Me and my dad made it. We used that box, bristle board, tape, and glue. I cut the box and bristle board and glue it together. I draw the window, door, and the classroom. We had a lot of fun for the window.
Okay, you want to tell me your name?
My name is Dylan Bundy.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Dylan. Hi. What's your name?
Michelle Dunbar.
And what's your building, Caitlin?
My building is at Walmart.
Okay, so who helped you make it?
My mom and my dad.
Yeah, and what's it made out of?
And cardboard and paper
Yeah.
and peanuts.
Okay. Thank you very much.
My name is Jade Cutler, and I made Bird Joe's Museum.
And who helped you make it, Jade?
My dad.
And what did you use to make your building?
Well, I used popsicle stick, cardboard, and foam.
Okay, thank you very much.
My name is Kelsey Alexandra Grant, and I am in grade 1, and I made the police station.
And what's it made out of, Kelsey?
It's made out of cardboard paper, duct tape, and it's made of straws.
Okay, thank you very much.
My name is Matthew Eugene Ball. I made the post office.
Who helped you make it?
Mom and Dad. I'm in grade 1.
Okay, and what's it made out of?
Headboard. And straws. And paper.
And where's your dad's office to, Matthew? Where does your dad work?
In the post office.
So Dad works in the post office. Which window upstairs is his, do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Emma Porter, and I made the hospital.
Who helped you make your building, Emma?
Mom and Dad.
Yeah, and what's it made out of?
Cardboard and popsicle sticks.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. My name is Nicholas Steven Tucker. And I made the school what we're in now.
Okay, and who helped you make your building?
My mom and my dad.
Okay, and what did you make it out of?
The boxes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Christopher Ann. I am in grade 1. This is my building. I made the postcard because my dad worked for me. My dad helped me make it, but my mom helped me paint it because my dad's gone away.
Okay,
And
what's it made out of?
it's made of wood, and I hammered it, and Dad sawed it.
Okay, thank you very much.
My name is Megan Elizabeth Savannah Thorne. I made this house. It's many Thorne's eggs.
And who helped you make it, Megan?
My dad.
And what's it made out of?
Cardboard.
Yeah. So you told me you used some paint too. What kind of paint did you use?
Oil paint.
Good, thank you very much. Okay.
It's pretty. It's really pretty. Now, trying to get the tape off too. Camera. Just to like get my face off. Wait, one different. Oh yeah. I'll just put
Now over to Mayor Ann with the council report.
Good evening. Burgeo Town Council held its regular council meeting on Wednesday, May the 7th. We had 7 members in attendance, and we certainly weren't expecting 7 because Councillor Reid was out of town and supposedly until June, but he surprised us all by showing up at the meeting last night. So we were quite pleased to have Councillor Reid back to a meeting and to have 7 members in attendance. Our meeting started off with the Economic Development Officer's report, and the reason for this was a little bit off format, but the Economic Development Officer had other commitments that last night, so therefore we took his report first. One thing in the report was the shed, what we refer to as the government shed. It's been moving rather slow. Mr. Illier advised us the hang up is there's an environmental assessment done. However, that doesn't seem to be very serious and should be completed within a couple of weeks, and that'll be taken care of. However, the big problem is with DFO and sea urchins and COA and so on, and that's been on the go for quite some time, but I think the Development Board has come to the conclusion that they're going to have a yes or no answer in the very near future, or else that's it, and they're going to get on with it. And I must say, this discussion on sea urchins, that took up at least 45 minutes of our meeting. However, we do wish the Development Board success. It looks as if, there's a potential for 35 seasonal jobs in this sea urchin industry. There appears to be a fair number of sea urchins in this area. They're being trucked out, and it just shouldn't happen. It doesn't take much to set up a facility to do those urchins, and why the government is reneging and holding back and will not let this operation go ahead in Burgeo just amazes council, and I'm sure it just amazes the BDDB as well. The town manager reported that he had had conversations with Mr. Steve Noseworthy of Seacrest, and also that the inspection officer, well, I'm going to say from the DFO inspections, I don't know just which way that goes anymore. There was a few minor discrepancies in the building before it can be used for fish processing, but nothing of any concern. Mr. Noseworthy advised the town manager that all hake and pollock will be done by hand, will be done by the regular method of using knives. However, there's a splitter on the way in mechanical splitter which will take care of the cod. Mr. Noseworthy is estimating that the operation will begin around the 1st of June. There will be 12 to 15 additional workers. That's in addition to what he's got at the wharf, at the Fisherman's Wharf at the present time, employed. So you know what, it's no big deal, it's a few more jobs. So we're thankful for that, and we wish that the best. With regard to lump roll, he's prepared to do the lump roll here in Burjo, but as he explained to the town manager, if he had all the lump roll on the south coast, it wouldn't have been enough for one plant last year. So, you know, that's the problem there. If we could only come up with a few more, with some lump, then that would create a few more jobs and would extend the operation a little bit longer. The manager was also in receipt of information from Kelvin Parsons, our MHA. And Minister Parsons advised that the arena for Burjo, that the funding for that will be signed off today, May the 8th or the 9th, tomorrow. And after that, the official letter would follow to council advising that the funding was there. With regards to the Park Road, you've probably heard some talk about the completion of paving of the Park Road, and you know, this has been well, it's a roundabout way of doing something. It really was something that was given in return for the overrun on our water system. And anyway, it was thought that it could go ahead without going to tender, but the manager advised that he's been told it's got to go to tender, so it'll probably cost more and so on and so forth. But anyway, it still looks as if the Park Road will be paved this year. No doubt some of you went to the town office and signed the petition that was there regarding the MRI equipment for Western Memorial Regional Hospital, and I would like to thank those who did take the time to go and sign that petition. The council fully thinks that that piece of equipment should go to Corner Brook. They've got quite a bit of equipment on the East Coast in St. John's and so on, and it's time that something came to the West Coast. But in addition to the petition, the town council did submit a letter. It was sent to Minister Smith and the healthcare system in St. John's, and we did support that the MRI should go to Corner Brook and that it should be a permanent unit and not a mobile unit. So hopefully we've sent it to our copy to our MHA as well, and hopefully that we will be successful in getting the MRI equipment in Corner Brook. With regard to the murals on the museum, I don't need to say I think that this has been a very, very, very slow process. And taking that into consideration, last night it was agreed that something had to be done so that we can get this project finished. And with this in mind, the town will now be seeking names of people who would be interested or who is capable of completing the murals on the museum. We're very thankful for the students who did take part. It would have been a great thing to be remembered by in your hometown if it had got completed. But anyway, we're thankful for what was done, and hopefully we can get the job finished. If we can't get the job finished, then I guess we're going to have to resort back to something else. I don't know, but you know, we just can't go on year after year getting, well, we say the amount that we got done last year. So hopefully that can be taken care of. Council declared the weeks of May the 12th to the 24th as clean-up weeks. You will hear more about that in the pickups and so on. I'm sure the clerk or the manager will have a notice on Burjo Broadcasting. And tied in with that same subject, I'm sure that council spent well over half an hour, maybe it was closer to an hour last night, in discussing what we're going to do about certain dilapidated properties which we have within our town. We would encourage people that, you know, if you do have a piece of property and it's starting to get into disrepair and so on, you know, it comes a time when you're going to have to make a decision on what you're going to do with your property, and council's going to have to make a decision on what part they're going to play. So I would encourage people, you know, if you've got property that's badly in need of painting, falling down, when it gets to be a danger thing, then it really becomes a concern of council's. So we would certainly encourage people to size up their property and during cleanup week and indicate to council even what you intend to do with your property if it's getting in a dilapidated condition. It's time that something was done about it. But it did take up quite a bit of council's time, and there will come a time when council will have to make a decision whether they're going to apply the Local Government Act to the fullest, or it's just going to let things go. Burjo's not a part of the tidy towns this year, but by all means we still expect and hope that our town will be as clean or cleaner than it's ever been before. The period of June the 9th to the 23rd is known as the Mayor's March on Heart and Stroke Disease. I think some of you could remember last year, the Mayor and the councillors went out for a walk and we raised over $300. Our town is registering again for that march this year. I sure personally can appreciate the March for Heart and Stroke Disease. So I would ask any of you out there who would like to make a donation to the Mayor's March on Heart and Stroke, that you could make your pledge at the town hall or to any councillor. And hopefully we can go above the $300 that we did last year. Some time ago, you were advised that the town council was considering having a change made to the municipal plan, whereby the old town would be changed over to mixed development. The town manager advised us that he's ran into some snags there, and the cost is astronomical. As far as we're concerned, it would cost the town over $13,000 just to have that rezoning change made. However, we're not going to give up. The manager at the present time is looking at other options to see if there's not another way that we can get around this so that council will have more say as to what goes where. And along with that, we plan on getting deeper into it because I believe it's the month of June. There's several councillors which will be going around Burjo, and they will be identifying certain parcels of land which is suitable for commercial use and residential use. So after that's done, council will have to come to some decision on what's facing us then, in order that the land that's been identified can be used for the purposes that council would like for it to be used for. Council approved $1,900 for the operation of the outdoor rink during the winter. The Burjo Lions Club spent approximately $1,300 or $3,800, something like that, towards the paying the worker on the rink and the operation of the rink during the year. And this is just a standard thing that we do just about every year, and we agreed to pick up 50% of that cost. As you well know, that the town of Burjo do budget for recreation, and there is money for that purpose. Some time ago, there was a lot of talk about shutting down of the mobile phone system on the road and so on. And this was greatly going to affect the cottage owners in the Peter Strides area. The Burgeo Town Council opposed this at the CRTC hearings. There was 10 opponents to the shutdown of the mobile service. That was not only in Burgeo, that was all over Newfoundland and Labrador. That's what the application were. There was 10 objections to having it shut down. 6 of those objections came from the town of Burgeo. So, you know, Burgeo certainly did oppose the shutdown of the mobile service. However, that being what it may, I think it was felt that, you know, there was nothing the CRTC could do. Alliant doesn't have the components to carry on the service anymore, and the components to service the equipment is no longer available. So therefore the CRTC did approve the shutdown of the system. And for those of you who were a subscriber, now get this, not that you had a phone, but if you were a subscriber to this service on the date that the Alliant made the application, and Alliant made the application on March the 1st, 2002. If you were a subscriber of that service on that date, then Alliant will give you $2,000 so that you can change over to an alternate service. And the alternate service, of course, which is being promoted here, is the satellite service. So that's the situation. It says the Commission's approval will take effect 21 days after Alliant mails written notice to persons who were subscribers on the date of its application, advising them of the day on which the service will be withdrawn, and that it will provide each such subscriber $2,000 towards the cost of subscribing to an alternative service. So, you know, the service is going down, and for those of you who were subscribers on March the 1st, 2002, and I'm sure most of you have received your letters by this time, that you will be eligible for $2,000 to switch over to some alternate service. The town manager will be posting this very soon, but anyway, it's the time this year is the time when the garbage collection tender runs out. It doesn't run out until October. However, council will be calling for tenders in the very near future, and there's 2 reasons for that. One is so that whoever the successful tenderer is, they'll be ready to go to work as soon as ever the expiry date of the present tender comes up, which is in October. That's number 1. And number 2, should the present tender not be successful, then that would give him a chance to decide what he's going to do for some other type of employment, and whether he's got to pack up and go on seismic or what's got to happen, you know. So we felt that that's a good idea. So very soon the call for tenders to collect garbage in the town of Burgeo will be out. That was just about it from council for last night. However, there's one thing I would remind you, that even though the weather doesn't seem that warm, it is time for those of you who've been running your taps to start shutting them off. You've got no worries about your water freezing from now on. We might get a brush of snow, but that still won't freeze your water lines. So that's it from council for this week. Good evening.
Representatives from the Alliant Pioneers was in Burgeo on Thursday of this week to do a very special presentation to Mrs. Penny's kindergarten class. In September, the kindergarten students were given a sheet to take home. They were asked to fill out their sheets with their name, the names of 2 of their best friends, their teacher's name, and the name of their school, and so on. The students returned the sheets to school and were told they would receive a free book. On Thursday, the students indeed got their free books, but these books were very special. This is a project of the Alliant Pioneers, which is a group of telephone company employees, their spouses or partners, and retired employees. This group is similar to the Lions Club or the Kinsman Club. The Alliant Pioneers are also involved in Ugga Bear program and highway cleanups. This book is given to all kindergarten classes on the West Coast. Last year, 358 books were given out to 14 schools. This year, approximately 1,100 books was given out to 58 schools. A.J. Matthews was one of these schools. Alliant Pioneers are also hoping that this will be an ongoing project. Next year's kindergarten class is a nice project to look forward to. These books are personalized with each student's name, the name of 2 of their friends, their teacher, and the school name. It is a rhyming book called I Like Me. It comes with a 7-week teaching model. It includes teaching students about counting, responsibility, sharing, and others. It also includes a helpful int guide for parents. This program is sponsored by the Alliant Pioneer and other businesses in the community. This year, Burgos Kindergarten books were sponsored by WBG, a photo studio out of Pasadena. This will be an ongoing project for our school. Mr. Joe O'Quinn, Mr. Saunders, and Ann Brown presented the children with their books. After pictures were taken, parents and grandparents read the book to the children before they returned.
Okay. Here we go. 1, 2. You want your camera too? All right, don't move.
Okay, which one? Over there? Over there? Real big one.
Classroom really finished now.
Stay tuned for more of This Week in Review coming up after this.
It takes community to heal a village. In northern Mali, USC Canada works with local partners to find community-based ways to ensure mother-child health, food security, and jobs. Canadian agencies are helping to renew and strengthen communities throughout the developing world. This means greater opportunities for global villagers. Canadians in partnership, finding solutions that work.
On Friday of this week, students at A.J. Matthews Elementary School took part in the annual science fair. This was the first time all students took part in the science fair. This was in most part due to the decline of enrollment. Now there is room in the gym for all students to take part. The primary students did science demonstration on what was done in their classrooms as part of their regular curriculum. The primary science fair reflects the primary science program. The elementary school students did experiments. Here's a look at some of the projects. We thank Jennifer Marks for filming this event for us.
Only got water and food coloring. This one here got water and food coloring. This one. Is that enough?
5th to the 9th was Information Technology Week. As a part of its celebrations, the Public Library Board thought this year's Technology Week should focus on the BBS ICT project. Information Technology Week runs from May the 2nd to the 11th. It is jointly promoted by Industry Canada and the Information Technology Association of Canada. Canada's IT Week is a national celebration of Canadian innovation, skills, and achievement in information technology. Because of its work with setting up campsites in some of the coastal communities, BBS ICT project was recognized by the Provincial Library Board as a company who fit the IT Week profile. Most residents in our community know the BBS ICT project for high-speed internet, but this is just one aspect of the project. Over the past 2 years, the BBS ICT project has successfully developed a high-speed wireless network link to connect 5 isolated communities over distances of land and water that up to 6 months ago had never been done before anywhere in the world. This project used its wireless technology to connect students in Ramia, Grey River, Francois, and Grand Brit, and other members of these communities via video conferencing. During the celebration on Friday of this week, an introduction and overview of the project was presented at the Burgeo Lions Community Center. This event also showcased an innovative joint computer training session in Burgeo and Ramia using the mobile Gates Labs operated by the Provincial Library Boards in Newfoundland and Labrador. The 2 sites were linked by video conferencing using the wireless technology developed by BBS ICT project.
Okay. Well, next to Anne Margaret, you have to poke your head in a little. Hi. Hi. What's your name? Jenny? Penny. 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 Do you have much computer experience, Penny? Yes, I'm playing now. Okay. And there's one more there, am I correct? Hi. Hi. What's your name? Crystal. Crystal? Do you have much computer experience, Crystal? Are you, Jim? You're all basically there just to see what else you can learn? How about Anne Margaret? Pardon? What sites are available? Francis? Just to refresh your memory? Okay. How about Penny? You want to learn something new? And Crystal, how about you? Learn more? Pretty much the same answer.
What about here in the room? Same thing?
How about here in the room? Yeah? You're just here for a nice click. You want to get more comfortable? Okay. And
Invited guests also had tours of the Calder Healthcare Centre, St. John's Central High School, the Public Library, and the Burgeo Broadcasting System. Most of these sites are directly involved with aspects of the BBS ICT project and CAP sites. Guest speaker for the event was Carol Erickson, a representative from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The afternoon concluded with a reception at the community center. As part of the Information Technology Week, the Burgeo Library hosted a CAPS open house. CAPS stands for Community Access Program Sites. The public was invited to the library to go onto their computers and register online for a chance to win a digital camera or printer. The library board also prepared snacks for their visitors and had prize draws. For the past number of years, the public library has had computers for public use. It has become one of the most popular services in the public library has to offer. With funding from the CAPS, the library is able to offer more hours, which in turn gives the public more access to the library and their computers. Stay with us for Off the Rack, the community events, and the BBS Playbill, all after this.
Participaction wants you to know excess weight is a serious health risk. Dr. David Lau.
The more overweight you are, the more likely your lifespan is shortened.
These people have never met each other, yet they share a common challenge.
You start going through the dieting game, and I would lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight.
I can't pass a pastry display without, oh geez, I'd love to have one of those.
Excess weight contributes to heart disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure. Sandra and Dave are succeeding by reducing their weight.
So we think more about if we want to enjoy the next 20 years, what is it that we have to do?
They're taking the first steps, getting active, making healthy food choices, and talking to their doctor.
We do live longer if we engage in regular physical activity.
It's like a freedom for me. When you feel good about yourself, everything in your life seems better. Probably it's the greatest benefit of all.
Take your first step with Participaction.
BBS Playbill. Tune in on Tuesday for a rebroadcast of Pansy's Garden. There is no TV bingo scheduled for this Wednesday. Join Pansy and the gang for 2 stories, a craft, and lots of fun on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on Pansy's Garden. And I'll be here again next week with This Week in Review. Next week's program will be followed by the closing bandwagon. For This Week in Review, I'm Marie Rose. Good night and God bless.